Madam Kemi was a name that opened doors before a knock was even heard. In Lagos, where wealth often wore noise like perfume, hers was different, quiet, heavy, unquestionable. Her mansion in Banana Island stood like a monument to success. Glass walls, imported marble, a fleet of cars that changed with her mood. She gave generously to charity, sponsored church programs, and was known to kneel in public Thanksgiving services, tears streaming down her face as she praised God for the gift of life. People admired her resilience. They whispered about her tragedy. 6 miscarriages, they would say, shaking their heads. Yet, she still smiles. God will reward her. They didn't know the truth. Every pregnancy Madam Kemi had ever carried was not a blessing. It was a transaction. And every loss was deliberate. The first time had been the hardest. She had not always been rich. Years ago, she was just Kemi Adebayo, a struggling trader at Balogun Market, selling fabrics under the scorching sun. Hunger was familiar, so was humiliation. Then she met Baba Olokun. He didn't look powerful, just an old man with clouded eyes and a voice that sounded like dry leaves. But he knew things no one had told him. You are meant for greatness, he had said, staring straight into her soul. But greatness demands sacrifice. She laughed at first until he mentioned her deepest secret, how she had once stolen money from her dying mother's purse. That was when she listened. The richest wealth, Baba Olokun told her, is life before life. A soul not yet born is the purest offering. Kemi trembled. You mean a child? A fetus, he corrected, 7 months formed. Not too young, not yet touched by the world. Powerful. She ran away that day, but poverty has a way of dragging you back to dark doors. 2 months later, she returned. The ritual was simple. Get pregnant, carry the baby until the 7th month, then deliver it to Baba Olokun. The first time she cried. The second time she drank wine before going. By the third, she no longer felt anything. Each time, Baba Olokun would give her instructions, strange mixtures, midnight baths, incantations whispered into her ears like secrets from another world. The fetus would be removed in a way no doctor could explain. No blood, no trace, just gone. And with each sacrifice, her life changed. Her fabric store became a shop. The shop became a chain of boutiques. Then came real estate, oil contracts, foreign investment. By the time of the 6th pregnancy, she was Madam Kemi, philanthropist, business mogul, a woman of faith. Her name carried weight in both boardrooms and church halls. Politicians sought her endorsement. Pastors called her a vessel of grace. Women pointed at her during services and whispered prayers, hoping her strength would rub off on them. And every time she lost a pregnancy, she turned it into testimony. It became a pattern, carefully crafted, perfectly executed. The news would break quietly at first. Madam Kemi has been hospitalized. Then it would spread. Another miscarriage. Within hours, a mansion would be filled with visitors, church members, well-wishers, even strangers who claimed to have been touched by her generosity. She always made sure the lighting in her room was dim, soft, almost holy. She would lie on her bed, dressed in white, her head wrapped in a simple scarf. No jewelry, no makeup, just vulnerability. By the time the pastor arrived, tears would already be streaming down her face. I saw death, she would whisper, her voice trembling just enough to sound real. I was gone. I was completely Go on. The pastor would hold her hand, nodding gravely. But God brought you back. At that, she would break, a controlled collapse, her shoulders shaking, her breath uneven. Yes, she would cry. He gave me another chance. The doctor said I wouldn't make it, but God said no. The room would erupt. Hallelujah! Some would fall to their knees. Others would begin to pray loudly in tongues. And in the middle of it all, Madam Kemi would lift her hands weakly, as though summoning strength from heaven itself. I may have lost the baby, she would continue, pausing for effect. But I did not lose my life. More tears, more gasps, more worship. The story would grow each time she told it. Sometimes, she had flatlined for 3 minutes. Other times, angels had stood at the edge of her bed. On one occasion, she claimed she saw a bright light and heard a voice telling her, "It is not your time." The congregation would hang onto every word, because pain, when packaged with survival, is powerful. And Madam Kemi knew exactly how to package hers. Soon, her testimonies moved beyond hospital rooms and into the church altar. Special Thanksgiving services were organized in her honor. Flyers were printed. Come and witness the power of God in the life of Madam Kemi. The church would be filled beyond capacity. Cameras rolling, choir singing. She would walk slowly to the front, supported by 2 women, as if her strength was still returning. The pastor would introduce her with reverence. This woman is a living miracle. Applause, cheers, then silence as she took the microphone. Her voice would crack at the beginning, always. I don't know where to start, she would say, dabbing her eyes. And then she would begin. She spoke of pain, of blood, of nights she thought she would never see morning. She described hospitals' machines, doctors shouting, smell of antiseptic mixed with fear. Every detail carefully exaggerated, yet believable enough to draw empathy. I asked God, she would say, her voice dropping to a whisper. Why me? A pause, perfectly timed. But then I realized, she would lift her head, eyes glistening, that my life is not mine. It belongs to Him. The church would explode. Some people would cry uncontrollably. Others would rush forward, trying to touch her, as if her survival was contagious. Women struggling with infertility would cling to her words like lifelines. Men would bow their heads humbled, and Madam Kemi would stand there, soaking it all in. In public, she was a testimony. In private, she was something else entirely. No one questioned her, because in a world desperate for miracles, no one wants to look too closely at the story behind one. And Madam Kemi understood that better than anyone. So she kept smiling, kept testifying, kept playing her role perfectly, until the 7th pregnancy, when for the first time, the script refused to follow her. The 7th pregnancy began like the others, planned, calculated, ritualized. But from the start, something felt wrong. At 3 months, she started hearing faint cries at night. At 4 months, her reflection sometimes delayed, moving a second after she did. At 5 months, she dreamed of children with swollen heads and long, unnatural limbs crawling toward her. She dismissed it as stress. Success attracts spiritual attacks, she told herself. By the 7th month, it was time. She prepared as usual. The room was filled with the scent of burnt herbs and dark. Baba Olokun sat before her, chanting slowly. Lie down, he said. She did. He placed his hands on her stomach. The air grew cold, Then he screamed. Baba Olokun, who had never shown fear, jerked his hand away as if it burned. "What is it?" Kemi asked, sitting up. Her eyes were wide. "This is not ordinary." "What do you mean?" "The child, it is holding on." Kemi laughed nervously. "That's impossible. You've done this 6 times. "Not like this," he whispered. He tried again, chanting louder, faster. The room seemed to close in, shadows stretching unnaturally across the walls. Then Kemi felt it, a movement inside her, not like the usual kicks. This was deliberate, like something pushing back. "Stop!" she screamed. Baba Olokun collapsed, gasping for air. "It refuses," he said. I cannot take it." Kemi's heart pounded. What do we do? The old man looked at her with something she had never seen before, fear. "You must carry it," he said slowly. "Whatever this is, it is beyond me." 7 months passed, then 8, 9, 10. Her stomach kept growing. Doctors were confused. "There is a heartbeat," one said, "but the gestational period, it's abnormal." Another suggested surgery, but every time they tried, machines malfunctioned. Scalpel snapped. Power went out. Something was protecting the baby. By the 11th month, Madam Kemi stopped leaving the house. The dreams had become unbearable. She no longer saw one child, she saw 6. All of them deformed. Large heads, elongated limbs, hollow eyes. They surround her in her sleep. "Mommy," they whispered, "why did you kill us?" She would wake up screaming. But the worst part was when she began to see them while awake. At first, just shadows, then clearer. A child standing at the end of her hallway, another sitting on her dining table. One day, she saw them on the street. Normal people walked past, unaware. But to her, the road was filled with them, dozens of malformed children, all staring, all crying, all reaching for her. "Do you see them?" she asked her driver, her voice shaking. "See what, madam?" She pointed frantically. "The children, they are everywhere." The driver looked at her like she had lost her mind. "Madam, there is nothing there." She stopped sleeping, stopped eating, stopped praying. Because every time she tried to pray, the voices got louder. "Don't call God," they would say. "You didn't call him when you killed us." Her body weakened, but her stomach remained firm, alive, growing, watching.